And good morning is 7:04 on this Friday, April 12th. It's time to head to Studio B for Coleman and Company.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Here we are on a Friday morning, and the sun is shining. Gonna be a fantastic day. We welcome you to our program, and it's presented by Wilson Bank and Trust. We have two people with us this morning to talk about Wilson Bank and Trust. We've got Christy Patterson. Christy, good morning.
Good morning.
Christy is the assistant office manager for the Watertown branch, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, and we have Zach Roberts here this morning from Watertown as well. Zach, good morning to you.
Good morning, Coleman. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. It's good to have you both. Christy, how long you been with the bank?
17 years this month.
17 years.
Yes,
all
sir.
in Watertown?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow. Well, you know all the customers then, don't you?
Yes, sir, I do.
Just about.
Just about.
Oh, any particular thing you want to talk about this morning? You're a little bit. You're in Watertown. You're a few miles away from the nearest branch of Wilson Bank. So, I mean, here we've got them all over town, but one in Watertown, serving that section of the county. So I'm sure you stay pretty busy.
We do stay busy, and that area is really growing, so it gives us lots of opportunity to serve our community.
Yeah. And Zach, what about you? How long you been to the bank?
I've been 7 years total, 5 full-time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how long in Watertown?
For about 2.5 years.
Where'd you start?
I started in Smithville.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. That in that direction. Anyway.
Yeah, over there.
What mainly do you do?
I do our lending at the office, whether it be a small auto loan to construction loan.
Well, by your card here, it says consumer lending, so
Yes,
I guess
sir.
that covers a pretty wide area.
That covers it all.
You enjoy lending money?
I do, yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, a rate's going to go up today.
I don't know. That's the million-dollar question.
Waiting for the Fed to decide.
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
Well, you've got a nice place there in Watertown, and even the bank itself has grown some over the years. You're larger and spread out a little bit more than you once were.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. I know right now, too, we have really great CD rates, and I know it's got people coming in and making some changes and adjusting from where the rates were lower, and they're excited about them being up on deposit side.
Yeah, can you give out a rate on the air necessarily?
We do have 3 specials going on right now. We have a 8 months and a 13-month CD, and those are at 4.85% interest. And then we have a 30 months at 4.40% interest.
Mm-hmm. But the shorter time, you get a little bit better interest rate.
We do because they just don't know what it's going to do.
Right. The uncertainty figures into that rate, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
But that's almost 5%.
Yes, sir.
And that's considerably more than it was just a couple of years ago.
Yes, I know. 17 years ago when I came, I remember we had a checking account that paid 6% interest. So it's, yeah, it changes.
It fluctuates, and you sort of go with the flow, whatever. But you serve that area of the county, and I guess a lot of people are still opening accounts. People are making loans, coming to whatever their banking needs might be.
Yes, sir, they are. And we have a lot of businesses that are opening up in that area.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure that both you and Zach like to see that. That's more possible customers, more to come and open up a checking account or savings account, or to borrow money.
Yes, sir.
Especially if it's borrowing money, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yes, sir.
What else would you like to tell us this morning? I mean, you enjoy what you do. You're serving people when you can lend them money, help them to come up with whatever plans they have. And somebody might be going into business. Somebody might need a car. I guess there's such things as a student loan.
Yes, sir.
You do all that, right?
Yes, sir. We have some specials going on right now that kind of covers a lot of those different areas. So they can come by any branch closest to them and talk to a lender today and just find out what those are.
Well, I've just been handed a note here. I'd kind of forgotten, but the mile-long yard sale is tomorrow. So how does that affect
you? That a lot of people coming into town.
It does, and they come for change.
Yeah.
What are the hours? What are the hours tomorrow?
Tomorrow we're open from 8:30 to 12.
Okay, so three and a half hours.
Yeah, and I think the yard sale is from 7 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, it has quite a tradition. It's been going for a long time, and still twice a year. And a lot of people come to Watertown that probably wouldn't otherwise. So another signature event. You got several of those.
We do.
Well, I guess we kind of need to wrap it up here. But again, Christy Patterson and Zach Roberts with the Watertown branch of Wilson Bank and Trust, a growing area. We didn't talk about the rest of your employees. How many people are at the bank?
We have 8.
8? It takes 8 people now to operate.
It does. It stays busy.
Well, we're glad to have both of you with us this morning. And again, it's Wilson Bank and Trust, Watertown branch, Christy Patterson, Assistant Office Manager, Zach Roberts, Consumer Lender, Wilson Bank and Trust, member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. They're still here, still independent, still committed to you. Excellence in banking since 1987. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Coleman.
All right, that takes us to 10 minutes after the hour. It is Friday. It is time for our Friday Senate report, and here he is, Senator Mark Pody.
Good morning, Coleman. Coleman, I got to tell you, I am excited today. We have finished all the bills that we had on the calendar, so we are ready to go. You know, I'm going to be actually going to Watertown tonight. They got a T-ball game there, and I got one of my grandkids in T-ball. Actually, several of them in T-ball at Watertown, so I'll be there this evening.
All right. Well, you were telling me before we went on the air this morning, you're about through. The House is not.
No, the House is, and I know you'll have somebody on Monday coming in, and they'll kind of fill you in on what the House is, but the Senate doesn't have hardly anything left to do. We got a few things that we scheduled, but we're waiting on the House. All the bills that we have we're pretty much either behind the budget or they're negotiating back and forth between the House and the Senate. You know, one of them is like the F&E tax, you know, and the House's version and the Senate's version is different. You know, and I got to tell you, I think the House would be one that I'd be more leaning towards on that one. And the other one is the school choice bill. And other people call it the voucher bill, but they're way, way, way apart on those. And if they don't get them reconciled in the next few days, they're both going to go away. I think that there's a lot of room to move on the F&E tax, so I think that we're going to find some agreement there. But the school choice bill, it is like way, way, way apart. That does not look good at this point.
Well, we've got just probably about enough time to discuss this guns in school bill that I believe the Senate passed this week. And let's talk about that a minute.
Sure. So this is the first time since I've been there that we had to clear the Senate chambers. I mean, there was a lot of people up there, and the lieutenant governor tried to talk to him, tried to say, guys, you just got to listen. You know, you can't argue from up there while the debate's going on the floor. And after a while, he ended up closing the chambers and had everybody escorted out.
Well, now that's sad that is necessary, but one or the other has got to prevail here. You can't have the Senate session with a bunch of noise and talking and carrying on up in the gallery.
Yes, and I want people up there. I want people to come down, but they got to be respectful of the process of what's going on, whether they agree with it or don't agree with it. We want their voices to be heard, but you can't have it heard on the Senate floor because then nothing can get done. And then it's just a yelling match, and that doesn't do anything. That's not going to move forward. So, you know, as much as I want people to come down, I was in favor of clearing the chambers at that point. And what this bill does is, in this case, you know, teachers, they don't want to be armed. They don't want to carry guns and such, and that's not what they're hired to do. However, there are some circumstances where you might have a teacher or two, and they say, you know what, this is something I think that would be right for me. They may be ex-police. They may be, you know, former military, whatever. They got to go through a lot of training. They have to go through 40 hours on their own time, at their own expense, every single year to do this. There's a lot of liability. There's a lot of things that they've got to accept themselves. We're not asking any teacher to do this whatsoever, but if there's somebody that feels that that's what they would like to do and in their school or their circumstances, that's the best thing, we want to give them permission. The other thing is...
You did mention, too, there's maybe some remote area schools, rural area schools, where it's harder to get a school resource officer, or there's such situations in the state of Tennessee somewhere, I think, that this would help from what you told me.
Absolutely. Right now we have funded every single school, every school across the state to have an SOR officer. We funded that, but there's over 500 schools that don't have one. They can't find one at this point. And there's some schools, and I used to represent them when I had the rural counties, there's only a few sheriff's officers, and it can take 15 minutes to get to the school. Sometimes there's only a couple on duty at a period of time, and they could be at the other end of the county working an accident. If there's an issue, it is a trip to get there. Even with their sirens, they takes time. You can only cover so many miles. If it works out that the sheriff, that the superintendent of schools, and the principal, if they all agree that this might be right for this specific school, they're all in agreement, and they have somebody there that says, I'm willing to do it, willing to go through the 40 hours. We're just saying that that's okay. We're going to give them that option.
What's the biggest problem with those who are opposed to this?
It would be this. What would happen if somebody left their gun, in the desk or something, and that's, they don't want to bring another gun in the school, and I understand that, but, in this case, these are people that would have had to go through just not getting a gun permit. They have to go through 40 hours of specific training, and they have to do it every single year to say, how can we do this in school? What do we got to do to make sure everything's locked up, that they know that they're doing what they need to do?
You got many phone calls, either pro or con, regarding this?
I did. And I got more that were against it. However, it wasn't like overwhelmingly against it. And, in Davidson County, as an example, there's police right there. I mean, when we had the Covenant shooting, they could be there in minutes. It's not a huge time. I mean, from the time that the 911 call came in Davidson County and the Covenant shooting to 11 minutes later, it was done. I mean, the whole thing was over in 11 minutes. However, in some of the rural counties, it might not be that way. And you've got to give them options if they feel in that county it's the best thing for them. So I went ahead and voted for it.
Okay, now it's passed the Senate, and it's up to the House as to whether to pass it.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And then, the governor, if he signs it, then it would become law, should the House approve. If they don't, it fails. Then he could veto it, and you'd have to go through it all again. But
that's exactly right. So we'll have to just wait and see what happens.
Okay. Time for us to take a break. This is Coleman and Company, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks to Bates Ford, get a battery installed in most vehicles. They're $149.95, 1780 Franklin Road. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Already a couple of accidents out here. They were moving one a few minutes ago. 65 southbound at Trinity Lane. That's just now starting to get busy over there on that side of town as it really starts to crank up with more volume. On 24 going westbound, coming up out of Murfreesboro, Rutherford County into Antioch. It's already busy over here trying to get past the airport on I-40 westbound. As you come through Hermitage, Donaldson, in from Wilson County this morning. Still moving out there in the Mount Juliet area. Just watch for radar. Prince's Hot Chicken now has new items on that new menu. Check it out this weekend. Order online at princeshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Good day, sunshine.
Spring is in the air.
Yes, spring is a reminder of how beautiful change can truly be.
Do you need a change? Call us to help you buy or sell a home.
You're only here for a short visit. Don't hurry, don't worry. Be sure to smell the flowers along the way.
And remember, don't make a move without us.
Call Judy Cox or Medina Himmentoller at Exit Rocky Top Realty. CNDT 443-3130.
Day, sunshine.
We continue here on our Friday Senate report with Senator Mark Povey. I guess we talked about the gun thing enough. We'll just wait and see what the House does and go from there. But the other part that you talked about earlier, the vouchers, the other, we don't know about that either, really, do we?
That's correct. But we'll have those answers very shortly. I mean, next week is it, and we've got to wait to see what the budget. We'll be voting on the budget next week, and that is, once the budget's voted on, that is the absolute last thing we have to do constitutionally before we can sign a die and be done. And there's every expectation we'll We'll be passing the budget next week, and it's either in the budget or it's not. Right now, the House wants over $340 million, and the Senate is saying $75 million. And when you're talking budget, and our numbers are down this year in our budget, that's a huge, huge swing. So we got to see what that looks like. Once that is done, we can then finish the budget and what's going to get what and go on from there.
Well, could we reasonably say here that the finished product is going to be somewhere in between, probably?
Well, I don't think on the voucher bill so much. I think that both sides are kind of locked down. The Senate does not want to be putting a lot more money into this. That we are not excited about putting more money into the school choice program than, the governor came out with $140 million, and we even cut that down to $75 million. Coleman, I'm going to tell you, I'm a very tight, fiscally conservative person. And we just don't have the money to do extra things like this right now. So I'm going to watch the money, and we're going to pretty much stay where we are. I don't think we're going to move much on the voucher program. So unless the House is willing to move, I don't think the Senate is.
All right. What about other expenditures?
So I've got to tell you, I know that we talked that our inflation rate right now is, just over 3%. You've seen the last numbers came down. But in real life, now, Coleman, I've been around, you've been around for a while. When we look at, for example, in the 70s and the inflation rates and so forth, we were talking, those numbers would include like the housing and what auto costs and loans and things like that. They took all of those numbers away from how we count inflation. And if we look at the housing costs and such here in Tennessee and how much they've gone up in the last few years, and you don't count that in the inflation rate, that's really a false number when we're looking at 3%. These numbers, in real numbers, what we used to count, it would have been a much, much, much higher interest rate than what we're actually looking at right now. And that's having an effect on how people are spending their money in sales tax. If they're paying it on housing, if they're paying it on auto, that's not sales tax, then we don't get that money being generated for the state of Tennessee. And that's keeping our numbers low at this point of our revenue.
So we're spending more money, but we're not spending it on things that produce a sales tax.
That's exactly right. When you pay rent, you're not paying that for sales tax, and therefore you can't pay it at the restaurants. You can't pay it. And we're watching the credit card rates of people coming in, and some of the things that are starting to get behind on loans a little bit. We're watching that. These are all cracks in the economy that will be coming to pass sooner or later. It's going to be a tight budget year next year as well. So we're watching that. And I think at the Senate, we want to be thinking not what's happening today, but what's happening in a year and 2 years from now and 5 years from now. So we don't want to spend extra money.
Well, this franchise tax factors into this too, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Because there's less income because of what has happened.
And that's where I'm agreeing with the House, because the House is presenting something much less than what the Senate is. The Senate's about over $1 billion, and the House is under that. And that's why I'm going with the House version, because I think they're more, have a better handle on it than we do.
This is one time you agree with them more than your colleagues in the Senate.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Senate is saying that if we don't take care of this, we could have a bigger expense if we lose lawsuits that perhaps could come. And the House is saying, well, let the lawsuits come and we'll see what happens and go from there. So it's a gamble kind of either way. And I just want to be on the best conservative side that I can be for protecting the state of Tennessee and our assets.
On down the road, what does this look like? I mean, you got to wonder, will we recover some and be okay? We can't hardly raise the sales tax any more than what it is, can we?
No, and I don't think anybody's talking about increasing taxes or even cutting expenses. We got to ride this out a little bit. We're well prepared for it. We got the rainy day fund. We got everything we need, but it's just not the time to expand any kind of new programs. And I want to make sure that when those come in, I keep saying no. Even if they're good ideas, I just keep saying no. And we're going to weather this. Tennessee's in great shape, and this is not going to last long. It's going to be over in a couple of years. We'll be back and be back positive again. But we've talked about, hey, you got to set some money aside for when things tighten up a little bit, so you're prepared for it, and we've done that. So we're well prepared.
Well, I'm wondering. I don't know that much about this franchise tax and so on, other than the way we have done it. Everybody seems in agreement that it's unconstitutional. There's some things about it that were done wrong. We're correcting those, and we're going to have to sort of pay for it. But we still have a lot of businesses coming to Tennessee all the time. We're still a desired location for a lot. In time, will this build back to where we were? Or
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. We got a very positive future coming in. Tennessee is, and of all the states in the nation, we're one of the best ones. So we're really, really positive going forward. I'm excited about it, and I've got a very optimistic
businesses
outlook.
Will still pay a tax. It'll be a little bit different structured or whatever. Yep. Maybe not as much even, but with more businesses coming, the basket's going to get fuller later on, I would think.
That's correct. And a lot of this is businesses that are outside of Tennessee as well. They're doing business in Tennessee, but it's not just Tennessee businesses. So it's something that's commerce that goes across state lines. So we're going to be fine. This is going to be good. We'll make all the adjustments accordingly and go forward. And this, when it's lower, eventually, more businesses say, hey, we want to do business in Tennessee because they got a better tax structure.
Okay. Well, switching gears a little bit here, something that has been pretty near and dear to your heart, and it's dear to all people that drive an automobile in Tennessee, our roads. We're building new from time to time. We've got to take care of what we got, but it takes money to do that, and we've fallen a little short.
We have, and I did do a bill to ask for more money in to the specific money going for the roads, so it would do that on a regular basis. I started out with asking for $1 billion, ended up working it down to $42 million per year, but even at that rate, that one did not get through. It's right now. We'll have the final answer on that on probably Monday or Tuesday, but it doesn't look good. I also put in money, for example, for the fairgrounds, for the learning center. And I talked with Mayor Huddle, I talked with Tim Edwards just to say, if I can get a little bit to help going forward. Originally, we were anticipating $10 million coming in this year. And if the budget would have kept going, that was going to be invested in Wilson County. So I pared it down. I said, can we at least get $2 million this year for it? But even in the discussions with finance this week, they're not even going to do that. It's very, very close. And I got to tell you, Coleman, I understand because that would be something we want, but it's not something we absolutely need to move forward. And when there's no money, you've got to do the needs first, and that's what we're looking on. And so I talked to Tim yesterday. He said, Mark, can we even cut it down more to see what we can do to get something? But everything's submitted, so it's hard to make changes at this point. So it would take the governor's office or somebody else coming in to help.
You no doubt have some friends over at TDOT, Tennessee Department of Transportation. How do they feel about the situation? I mean, they probably you and others, but you for sure have gone to bat for them. I would think appreciate that, but what's this going to do?
Absolutely. So now TDOT, they're actually flush with money at the moment because we gave them $3.3 billion extra last year. So it's going to take them a couple years to spend that money. And so it's not like they need it at the moment, but this is future funding that I'm working on.
Okay.
So it'll take them a year or two to go through the extra $3.3 billion that we've given them.
So what they've got on board for the immediate future probably is okay.
Yes.
It's on down the road.
That's exactly right. And we want to be forward-thinking in the state to be looking at the potential issues and problems and solving them before they become crises, rather than waiting for that crisis to hit and then have to adjust it then.
Well, I just thought of something else. And this situation you're in is what district? Where is that? Has that ever been settled for sure?
Not yet. Still in the Supreme Court. They've not ruled, so we're waiting on that. And the longer it's put off, the less likely that it's going to be something that it'll be a this year issue. It might be saying that they're going to put it off till the next election cycle, not this election cycle. It may end up being the next one. It's going to be fixed. I just don't know the time frame of what that's going to look like.
Anything being said about this, and why the delay?
And so, just to go back, that right now the district that I'm representing, the 17th district, is not in numerical order in the Davidson County. So, and for some of the listeners that might not be following it as close, that means that it's not constitutional in Davidson County because everybody else in Davidson County is 19, 20, and 21, and I'm 17. If I was number 18, it would be in order. And what it says that if you're an odd number, like 17, in the Senate, you run with the governor. So every 4 years when the governor runs, all the odd numbers run, the even numbers run with the president. So in Davids County, they said, hey, this is not constitutional for number 17 to be in there. And they've taken to court, and we're waiting for the Supreme Court to answer that question. In the Supreme Court, we've asked them if they would hurry up and answer the question, and they've written back to us and said, we'll answer it in our own time. And that's exactly what they said. We will answer it, but it will be in our own time. Coleman.
Is there a reason for the holdup?
No, but you know what? I'm not going to push a judge that's going to rule. I'm just going to sit back and let the judges go. Now, there's one other thing that's happening in our judicial district in Wilson County. You know, we're talking about a bill that would actually make Wilson County its own judicial district instead of some of the other ones. And right now that bill, I've talked to Jason Lawson, and Jason's a great guy. I'm telling you, I highly respect him and respect his thoughts and opinions. And I told him, I said, Jason, this looks like it's not going to go anywhere this year. It looks like it's going to be a dead issue. The House has not taken it up, and unless they reopen up their committee, it won't go anywhere. And again, we're down to last week. So what's going to happen on that, we don't know. But it did pass the judicial in the Senate, but even the sponsors said, if it's not going to go anywhere in the House, we're just going to leave it die right here.
Okay. Well, we're at the end of our time. We'll see you next Friday.
All right. Thanks, Coleman.
Thanks for being with us today. Senator Mark Pody, our Friday Senate Report, and Part 1 of Coleman & Company. We've got more. Hope you'll keep it right here, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. Want to thank Absolute Kubota. They'll help you rent the right tool for the job. The Kubota Orange Rental Program makes it easy to rent the right equipment. Stop by Absolute Kubota, check out the U35 excavator or the SVL 75 compact track loader, 1506 West Main. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Clearing up an accident with injuries. 2700 block at Gallatin Pike. Fire EMS remain on the scene. Just about through with this wreck on 65 southbound here at Trinity Lane. That's had traffic a little bit extra slow down through there, mostly rubbernecking delays. It is heavy now as we stare at it live on 24 westbound coming out of Murfreesboro, Rutherford County up through the Antioch area. Prince's Hot Chicken now has brand new items on their brand new menu. Check it out this weekend. Order online, princeshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
For more than 36 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been proud to serve communities all across Tennessee. As an independent local bank, we provide banking products competitive with large banks, but delivered with personalized local service. Wilson Bank & Trust has been community-focused since 1987 and looks forward to many more. Discover the power of local community banking that truly makes a difference. Give us a call or come on by any of our local 30 locations or visit wilsonbank.com to learn more. Member FDIC.
Are you facing a challenging time that you need help navigating? Well, look no further than your local law firm of Kane & Crowell. At the offices of Kane & Crowell, our team of experienced attorneys is here to guide you through every step of the process. With a proven track record of success and a commitment to our clients and our community, look no further than the team at Kane & Crowell to fight for your rights and provide representation you deserve. 615-784-4800.
We begin clearing up as we go through the day today. No more showers and storms for the rest of the week. Mostly sunny skies, high around 65. West winds could gust up to 35 miles per hour. West winds continue to gust through the overnight. Clear low down to 44. This weather forecast is brought to you by Walker Auction and Realty. Professional auction and real estate services. Get top dollar for your home, land, or personal property. Log on to MikeWalkerAuctions.com. They know auctions. That's a look at your forecast. I'm Stormy Clausen.
And we welcome you to part 2 of Coleman & Company. Here on a Friday morning, we're ready to talk about the C&D team of Exit Rocky Top Realty. Mike Cox is with us this morning. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Coleman.
And you're here by your lonesome.
I am. The girls are extremely busy. I don't think that in all my years, this last few weeks, I've seen it this busy.
Really?
Yeah, they were out last night to 7:30, 8 o'clock. I think they listed one house, sold another one, and it's been that way. They've averaged like 2 listings a day, so it's taking both of them to go do one, the other go do the other one, and stuff like that. So,
well, at least it lets us have you by yourself this morning to do the commercial here.
Yeah, they sure did. So
Y'all been with us for a long time, and this is your part every Friday.
Yeah, people used to ask me years ago, why do you go to that radio show every Friday morning to advertise? And I'm like, well, because it brings me business.
Well, we appreciate having you. And, of course, the C&D team is part of Exit Rocky Top Realty, located at 1330 West Main here in Lebanon. We say great people, great service, people you can trust. And I don't know where we came up with that, people you can trust, but I think it says a lot. I think it describes you well, too.
It's just, we try to come up with different promos. Used to go, years ago, I can remember when I first started, I had a minivan that I had all lettered up and everything. It said, making it happen.
Yeah.
That was the big logo then. And then when Medina come along, she come along with her own logo,
right,
which has really worked out really well for her.
Yeah, don't make a move without it.
That's it. So that's kind of their thing now.
Well,
so.
what are you mainly doing? At one time, you did a lot of construction, and you got away from that.
I did. I spent 31 and a half years in construction, and I've been retired 3.5 now. Me and Wilson Bank almost went in business almost at the exact same time. And I partnered with them. Back then it was Elmer Richardson. He was, which wound up, he was the president of the bank. But when I started with him, he was basically a loan officer. Or I forgot what his title was, but I would take everybody I got to him. He'd get them financed. And, I mean, it just worked like a charm. And we worked as partners for 31 and a half years and still do today, to be honest with you, because he does all the real estate. Once I went into the real estate business, he started doing all that for me, and he kept doing all of my stuff even after he was president. So it really worked out well.
You did have even greater relationship than I realized. I knew you were friends, but you were really business.
We were business partners and everything. So now I work more with Randall than I do anything, because I got classic cars, and I'll take cars to the fair and work with him at the fair, and I go to Granville and do stuff like that.
Well, no doubt you certainly enjoy seeing Miss Judy, and now we call her Miss Medina, Judy's daughter, doing what they're doing. They're a good team, and they work together well.
They really do, and them two, I tell you what, they can, they're the type people, somebody saying the economy's bad, they just take it up a step or two, and they really know what they're doing. And so,
well, one of the things I think is a characteristic of the three of you, probably your whole team, but especially you three, you work. I mean, when other people might be having some leisure time or whatever, you're working, even if it's after hours and all of this. I mean, you're go-getters.
They do. And the girls are the same way. And we've kind of groomed some other girls in our office. Deanna's one, and Doris Bennett longer than I've been. And they know what they're doing. So when you get one of our agents, and then the other thing is, I had a house just 2 days ago. I went out, Medina's had it for a little while, got a contract on it, had 5 or 6 little things wrong with it, and I went out there and did an estimate, not for me to do it, but what I thought it would take for somebody to do it, because the buyer wants to know, do I set money or do I want you to fix the things? And most of the time the buyers will just say, okay, we'll take the money and we'll get it fixed ourselves. But they had little things. They did a light switch on one thing, and there was a sink had a leak around the faucet, and it was just little things like that. And I'm like, it's probably worth $500 to do it if they had to do it, and they'd make a little money on it. And so they just decided, well, we'll just fix it ourselves.
Yeah.
So, that's something we have that, if you are buying a house and there's something wrong with it, I can usually go out and tell you who you can get to fix it and pretty much what it's going to cost to fix it.
Well, you're kind of a peacemaker in that realm, aren't you?
Well, yes, and I still do that for the girls, because...
Oh, there's somebody wanting him now.
Yeah. But anyway...
He'll get to you in a minute.
I do that, so that's the good thing about that. We also have that to offer is if you list with us or whatever.
Well, it's as far as retirement goes, you haven't totally retired, but you probably aren't doing half what you used to do.
Oh, I don't know near what I used to. I work on my cars and stuff like that more than I do that, but I still do.
That's more retired.
when it comes to real estate, I do whatever needs to be done to make sure that the house is going to close.
Well, we've about exhausted our time here this morning, but Mike's really good to see you and glad to hear from you.
Good to be here.
Yep, and we'll just remind you, everybody, again, the C&D team, Exit Rocky Top Realty at 1330 West Main in Lebanon. You can call them at 615-443-3130. They're people you can trust, and you want to say it or you want me to? You say it.
I'll let you do it.
Oh, don't make a move without us.
Yes. And one thing I do want to say, I want to thank you and thank Susie for all the years that I've got to be on this radio show. It has been a tremendous help, and I appreciate you so much.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you, and it's just been great to have you here every Friday. Hope it can continue.
All right. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Okay, we're 21 minutes before the hour, and I have a special guest this morning. He is the county mayor of Trousdale County. His name is Jack McCall. Jack, good morning.
Good morning, Coleman. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's a fantastic Friday. Sun's shining. And,
it is.
Had a little rain for a couple of days here. But how are you?
Well, I'm doing fine. When I heard from you earlier in the week and you invited me over, the first question I was going to ask you is, how are your plant beds looking this year?
You know what? I think I fixed one plant bed in my life. And I saw how easy it was to get some tobacco slips from a neighbor, and I never did another one.
Are you kidding me? Well, I'm going to have another big crop this time.
Are you really?
I do a virtual crop. You know.
What's that all
we do a
about?
lot of virtual meetings, where the person's not really there. And so in the wintertime, I clean out the tobacco barn virtually and make sure the plant bed canvas is woven and up in the tier poles to keep away from the mice and get the tobacco sticks all tied up.
This is all in your mind.
Well, it's easier that way.
You have written some wonderful articles. Your column appears in both of our papers here, the Wilson Post and the Lebanon Democrat, and some others too. And you actually get a little money to do that, I think. But well, you tell a story. It's kind of a lot of what you write about, we could say, is kind of gone with the wind, like
it is,
like the 1850s. But it's still good to reminisce, but you have some wonderful stories that you write, and I read your column just about every week. I don't think I've missed one in a long time. Really enjoy it.
Well, thank you. It's fun to do. It's a little more demand. My time's a little more under demand now, but I figure out a way every week to. Occasionally, I'll go back in the archives and pull one I wrote several years ago.
But times were different, and back when you and I were growing up, especially when I was, nearly everybody. It seemed like they had a milk cow or two, and they had this milk can, 2 or 3 of them maybe out by the road, and the milk truck came and picked them up and took them somewhere, Watertown, Alexandria, somewhere, and they sold milk, and that was a little bit of money that came in. And then people had their tobacco crop was something you get usually in late November or December when you sold that. It was about a 13-month job, really. But what you've written about and how meticulous your father was in all that he did, but especially with his tobacco, the seed bed, plant bed, and bragging to all the people that he came in contact with, and he'd be maybe one of the first. He even had certain dates you've written that he wants this done by a certain date.
Oh, he did, and he watched over his plant beds like a mother hen, and every year this time of year when frost comes, I think about him, and he'd double a plant bed canvas, and he'd worry, he'd go check on them. He was a tobacco man.
It got to be they used chemicals instead of burning. Did he go to that?
He did. As a matter of fact, I remember those. I guess they were yellow. I know that. It was a little plastic canister. You could put 3 cans of gas in, and underneath that plastic, and I can hear that thing go when you push it down on the nail, and it gas plant beds.
When you've written about when it was time to cut tobacco and hang it in the barn.
Oh, yeah.
And I've done a little bit of that, too. And depending on which tier pole you were standing on is what kind of... The one at the top had to fight the wasp and all of that.
And the one on the bottom had to handle every stick.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, well, I just wonder how much feedback you get from that. You surely have some people to comment from time to time.
It's amazing how many people that grew up during that time. When I was on the speaking circuit more, someone would come up and say, "Were you my next door neighbor? Or were you my brother?" But because it was so common what we did, and since I'm in the papers, especially in the northern Middle Tennessee area, back toward Clarksville and Robertson County and those areas, people write all the time and say this is exactly the way it was when we grew up, and it resurrects memories, and lots of people will just say thank you for taking me back in time.
But Jack, that's another thing about this too. I want to think people care a little bit more about everybody than maybe. I think they love their brother a little more than they do now.
Well, I think we had time too, and we spent a lot of time together. And you either, I have a dear friend that passed away several years ago, and she said at meals we talked about everything. We talked religion, politics, and we talked about our day, and there was much more face-to-face communication back then. And everyone was equally poor. There were no big eyes and little U's. We didn't realize we were poor, but everyone was equally poor. And so there was not so much competition to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. I tell, as a matter of fact, I had lunch with a really good friend the other day, and we really grew up in a golden age in America. It was a great time.
I want to talk about Brim Holler this morning. It's time for us to take a break.
Okay.
But that's a near and dear place to you.
We'll be right back.
All right. We will. Break right here on Coleman & Company, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks to our friends at Bates Ford. Get a battery installed on most vehicles, $149.95. Bates Ford, 1780 Franklin Pike. Now with traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. They were wrapping up that wreck a few minutes ago on 65 southbound just past Trinity Lane. It's always busy there this time of the morning, guaranteed. Traffic still heavy, but moving right now for the most part on 24 westbound as you come in through the Hickory Hollow area from Murfreesboro, Rutherford County, headed towards Nashville. Already some heavy traffic now at times trying to get through Lebanon on 40 west as you make your way through that section of Wilson County. All that traffic headed towards Nashville. Hey, Princess Hot Chicken now has brand new items on a brand new menu. Check it out this weekend. Order online at princesshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Gregory Dental Group in Lebanon is in a new location, 1746 West Main in Lebanon, across from Sports Village. Gregory Dental Group offers cosmetic procedures, dental implant services, and digital dentures. Premium dentures in just 2 appointments.
Hi, I'm Dr. Derek Gregory. In my office, you can count on a compassionate staff who will truly listen to you, take the time to get to know you, and discuss your personal needs.
No insurance? No problem. Call about the discount plan. Gregory Dental Group, 444-0322.
Eventually, yeah.
Coleman & Company, thanks for joining us. Jack McCall is my guest this morning. I do want to talk about Brim Holler, because I want to know exactly where. I know where Riddleton is. I think I know where Monable is. Is Brim Holler close to either one?
In that area, it's on Bowman's Branch, and it's kind of a secluded drive, and actually we have a right-of-way back to the farm. And
is that still yours?
It's my brother's. Two of my brothers own it now.
Okay.
And which gives me access. And it's kind of a private access road, and no one knows it's there. And the interesting thing about it, Coleman, is if you go to the head of the hollow, which is about 1.5 miles from Bowman's Branch, and it's shaped like a horseshoe. So it's interesting. The brims before my grandfather, because hog cholera was spread by runoff water, he wanted a piece of property where there was no runoff water, and so he owned ridge to ridge, so there's no runoff water from other farms.
Okay.
But when you get to the head of the hollow and you climb to the top, you're looking down into pleasant shade.
Oh.
As the crow flies. It's really interesting. And I've walked that before as a boy.
How big a farm was this?
300 acres.
Yeah.
When we were in the 7th or 8th grade, some buddies and I camped in the Brim Hollow, and we decided to hike out across the hill to Pleasant Shade. There was a little store called Four-Way Inn, and so we hiked to Four-Way Inn, and the only protection we had was one of these big hatchets with a big wide blade, and I was climbing an electric fence and dropped that thing on my foot. And we bandaged my foot up with a sock and walked the 4-way in and called my buddy Hugh Green, whose dad was a doctor. We called his mother. She came to Pleasant Shade, picked us up, took us to Carthage, sewed up my foot, went back to Riddleton and let us out, and we walked back in the hollow and spent 3 more days. And if we'd had cell phones, we'd been calling everybody, but my mother and father never knew until we got home.
How old were you then?
Oh, probably 12.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's quite an experience.
Yeah, so I took 2 of the grandboys into Brim Hollow a couple of weeks ago, and that was quite an adventure for them.
Yeah. Well, everything has changed, obviously, but that was your grandfather, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, his Herod Brim.
Your mother's
my mother's father.
Yeah.
His name was Herod Brim. He was very eccentric. He died when he was 69 of his 3rd heart attack in 1963.
Yeah.
And so no one's lived in the Brim Hollow for over 60 years now.
What's your brother, has he just got that?
You know, they logged it about 4 or 5 years ago, and the timber hadn't been cut for 100 years.
Oh.
And the rumor always was that there was 1 million board feet of timber, and there was more than that when they harvested it. It was quite an incredible oak tree, some walnut trees. You wouldn't believe how big they were.
Well, is he going to restock?
Well, Clark Lumber Company basically told them on the biggest part of the farm it would not be harvested again for another 50 years. And then one part of the farm, they said probably in 20 years you could harvest it again. But it was, I had a farm in Smith County, and when they harvested the trees, the gentleman that did it said, "Have you got a good nerve pill? Because when you come back in here and see what this farm looks like after you harvest, but it's come back really much quicker than we thought it would."
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. I guess changing the subject a little bit, you are county mayor.
County mayor.
You're dealing with, you're in a political situation, obviously. There's some politics involved, even if everybody's trying to do their very best.
You know, we had the mayor of Knox County, who is Mayor Jacobs, who was a former WWE world champion wrestler. His stage name was Kane, and he's mayor of Knox County now. Has been for 5 years, and he came up to speak at a Fellowship of Christian Athletes banquet a couple of weeks ago, and so you know how mayors talk, and he says, "So how long you been mayor?" And I said, 1.5 years, and he chuckled, and he said, "You know, the first lesson you have to learn is not to be sucked into the drama." And you know, you think things, but when you hear someone say it, you say, well, he was exactly right. You always learn something from another mayor. And, you know, in Washington has drama and intrigue and lots of other words we could use. And then it comes to a state level, it's the same with local. You know, there's lots of drama that you have to learn to handle.
How are you financially?
Travis County's in good shape. Interesting thing is, we up until this last year, we had not had a property tax increase for 13 years. And this last year, we raised 5 pennies, which is pretty negligible. And I tell people it's interesting in Trousdale County, mayors are evaluated on whether or not they raise taxes, and the last 3 didn't, and we're not elected. We're not reelected. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, it is. That's usually.
So I think people look for progress. Yeah. They look for how their tax money's spent. And
well, how is your economy? You growing?
We're growing residentially.
Yeah.
But as far as the industry is concerned, not a lot happening. And our county school director made an interesting comment not too long ago that we don't have any retailers that sell big ticket items, which really keeps our sales tax from growing very much. But I kind of see Hartsville as more of a destination place in the future because we're on that 50-mile periphery from Nashville, and we're working on our parks and reasons for people want to come to visit and trying to wake up our downtown.
Being county mayor, do you have any influence with D.T. McCall?
I don't know that they'll come and build a store there.
Well, it's a thought.
You know, Mr. Cox and I were talking about the fact that advertising early on, and he's very complimentary of how much this station has helped him.
Yeah.
And we were talking about McCall's getting their start, and actually was it the 50s or 60s when they started advertising on Ralph Emery. And back then, $200 for 30 seconds was unheard of, but that really made the Channel 4 viewing area their market.
Yeah.
And my brother used to leave Lafayette at 3:30 in the morning on every Thursday and be on Ralph Emery from 5 to 7.
That they really made the most of their opportunity there.
They did.
I think
They did.
But your uncle, right? Who you've I think you got to eulogize at his death. And
I
all
did.
of this.
I did. My uncle AB, he was a great buyer. His father DT was a great salesman, but AB was a great buyer. He was so innovative. He was.
Some of that got passed on to his.
Oh, it did. It did. And I told someone that one of the biggest influences he had on me was I would see him walking to the post office, like middle of the morning. I saw him do this many times, and he always kind of leaned a little bit to his right when he walked, but he was a man on a mission. And just watching him walk and his body language inspired me to be more aggressive in doing what I did, just watching him walk to the post office. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Well, it's amazing. I mean, they started in Carthage, didn't it? Just on the square there, close to the square, and now branches all over. And but television, no doubt, really gave them a boost.
It really did. It really did.
Yeah. Well, you did some other things. How happy are you being county mayor?
You know, I really enjoy it. I'm a people guy, and so and it's all about relationships. You know, I was in a meeting yesterday. It was one of those all-day meetings with what I call the Big Three in Clarksville: TVA, USDA, and Tennessee Department of Economic Development. And we had a lot of roundtable discussion. It's very, very productive. But to understand all the funding opportunities that there are out there, not only from a state standpoint but federally, is a really important job and opportunity for mayors to know the people, to know where the money is and how to get it, to make life better for your people. And
you just have one government. You don't have the city and counties all together.
We're one of 3 metropolitan governments in the state of Tennessee: Moore County, Lynchburg, and Davidson County, and Trousdale County. And we have an advantage that we have only one town, and so you don't have competing communities.
Right.
I did want to talk a little bit about the 141 road expansion.
Well, let's talk about that.
You know, it's going to connect I-40 with Highway 10. And the bridge that's being built will be the longest bridge in Tennessee.
Really?
It'll be 268 feet longer than Leaper's Fork, if you're familiar with that bridge in Williamson County. The bridge is almost a third of a mile long, crossing the Cumberland, to connect to Highway 10. And it's going to change the traffic patterns out of Macon County and even Clay County tremendously. And it's going to bring a lot of traffic through Trousdale County. It's like a $126 million project. Jones Brothers, once they started that project, they started moving dirt the next day. So
where are they now? How much has been done?
They're supposed to move 600,000 cubic yards of fill by November from one side of the road to the other. It's 4 miles. When you take 141 to Hartsville and have to make that turn, if you go straight, you're in the river.
Right.
You make that turn, it's 4 miles from there to Highway 10. And so they're going to build a 4-mile stretch over there. And there's a clover leaf at Highway 25, which will allow you will have an overpass of 25, 10 will. It's really a great project.
What's the target date for it to be finished?
That's about 3 years.
Oh, okay.
And the land was purchased 20 years ago. That's how long this project's been in the works.
Well, you probably, I don't know whether you came, how'd you come over here today?
That's the way I came.
Oh, well, you see what's happening up here between, out where I live.
Yes.
I think I'm going to be able to just get on the road and go right straight over to that and come out here. It won't take me as long to get here.
Yep, that's right.
If I'm still here and all
you
this.
will be. You will be.
It's a couple of years more, I think, before they're going to get that part fixed, and of course that bridge. Now that's a big thing, but that is going to change the whole picture.
Sure.
And people in Lafayette will hardly know where Hartsville is.
They'll blink, and so we're going to have to bring the town back alive where people will want to be there on weekends, and we're working on some walking trails, and we're in the works of getting a 54-bed hotel in Hartsville. That's gonna.
Well, we wish you well in that. As far as your speaking goes, you said you're still doing some, not as much as you used to.
Well, I'll do probably half dozen a year. I like for them to fall on Friday, where I just have to take one day off to be gone, and I do a lot of local things and for charities and things I love to do.
You still, when you make one of these trips, I mean, it's probably for a convention a lot of times. You know how to get the attention of your audience.
The last one I did was in Hannibal, Missouri, to an ag group. That was a couple months ago.
Yeah. Well, you still talk about the same things?
Still talk about the same things. People are people.
And you pretty much still write about the same things.
I do.
In a little bit different way. But you have to have an idea to get to put it down on paper.
I do, and I really don't suffer from writer's block that often. I'll usually come up with an idea on Monday and just kind of massage it all week and think about it. And sometimes I'll sit down and think, how in the world can I write 600 words here? And it's amazing once you get going, it'll kind of...
Well, I think you do a great job. I love to read what you write, and I love to have you here to talk about different things. And again, we certainly wish you much success as county mayor of Trousdale County. We've all got our challenges, but we roll up our sleeves and go to work.
By the way, Wilson County has a great mayor. Mayor Hutto, we've become really good friends. He's a great guy.
Well,
and he's a great teacher, and he's really helped me.
Well, glad to hear that, too. Jack, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. That is it for a Friday. Jack McCall, my guest, and until Monday, I wish you a fantastic day.